Good evening, everyone. This is Sizzling, powered by Fit to Be Trained, coming to you from the Deep End Broadcasting Network studios in the lovely Virginia Beach, Virginia, in the United States of America. You can find this program on deependbroadcasting.com and subscribe to this network's YouTube channel, Deep End Broadcasting. Hey, y'all, I am Sizzle, aka Karen Doherty, and you can find me pretty much all over the internet under Fit to Be Trained, and that would be on Instagram and Facebook. And now this podcast is not only on YouTube, but now it is on Apple and Spotify, proud to say. So, woo! So take a listen, tell your friends. And I've been enjoying having guests on the last couple of weeks. It's been kind of fun. And I have another one tonight. Steve, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. It was a great Easter weekend, the end of Holy Week. Da 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 da. And I love it. Mm-hmm. Yep. Uh-huh. It was a great Easter weekend too. So it's always a fresh way to start. And the gal that I have on tonight is very important to me. And that is very important to us. We're a little bit, two little nerds that like to go over biblical stuff and have a good time during our training sessions. Yep, that's right. You have heard my coaches come on while I'm Alexis's coach. And I wanted her to come on for several reasons, for many reasons. You're going to hear it in the podcast tonight. But one of my favorite books of all time is called The Caged Lion. And it's about a client writing about Joseph Pilates as he saw him and knew him personally, which there's not a lot of people that do. So it's a really, really good book. I really, really enjoyed it, but I read it over and over again, because it's that good. But anyway, that's how I feel about Alexis. Alexis really knows me as a trainer and, but knows me personally too. And I know her because we've been training together for 10 years, plus
11.
or minus. I thought it was 11 years. And I started with her when she was going into her senior year in high school. So there's a lot of growth there for both of us. Both of us. My child was only 11, 10. He was 10 years old and now he's 21. So I went through that with her and she had 2 children. And we're going to talk about all that because we went through during that whole time, Alexis was training. She was doing fitness, whether it be Pilates and fitness. And we'll go over some things with her. And why I invited her on this is because she's a mom of 2 children. And she has a dance background and has gotten married and had a lot of life things happen, went to college, wrote a book, has a podcast of her own, and all this stuff we're going to go through and try and squeeze it in as much as we can because she's had a lot of growth in the last 11 years. And I must say the whole time that was constant was her fitness. So I gave a little background on my client and pal, Alexis Heaslip. Welcome, Alexis. Thank you so much for taking your time out to come and join Steve and I.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so grateful. Can you start me out with just a little bit of a background? I mentioned that you were a dancer, I think, when I was introducing you, but tell me a little bit how old you were and when you started dance and that sort of thing.
I was put in dance in preschool, and I went preschool through 12th grade. I danced. So by the time I was in high school, I was dancing maybe 4 days a week, 2 to 3 hours each day.
Wow.
And then my senior year, I also worked out with you twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do
So
remember that.
I
And I do remember your heavy dance schedule.
Huh?
I do remember that heavy dance schedule. And I
Yeah.
have to say, too, we were doing more fitness. I didn't have the reformer yet. We were doing fitness and we were doing Pilates mat more style.
And my
And that was so you have a background with all kinds of fitness, not
I do.
just Pilates.
Right. And it evolved with you as the years went by, what we did together.
I know. It's been a really
Yeah.
pleasure working with you.
Yeah.
How has dance shaped your understanding of movement and body awareness? Because I feel like as you know, you already had a sense of body awareness
Oh,
when
definitely.
I got you. Right.
Well, with ballet, especially, ballet and tap were my two favorite forms of dance. In my dance studio, I did like ballet, tap, jazz, lyrical.
Love tap.
So when every movement matters. Every angle of your body matters in dance. Now, is it good for your body? Some of the things that we were required to do necessarily, no,
Right.
because it's not
Right.
natural. The positions
Right.
body aren't natural, and I have a problem still with turnout.
Right.
You know,
Right. Turnout being her feet turning out.
too much,
And
and
yeah,
and
dancers tend to stay in that external rotation of the feet. Yes.
and
Yep.
hyperextension of my legs,
Yep.
as you so
Another common. And
but
the
you have to be hyper aware of everything that your body's doing when you're dancing.
right.
So
Right. And you mentioned tap, and that's my
yeah,
favorite. I love it to watch it. I'm not a dancer, so when I say
yeah,
it's my favorite, it's not my favorite to do.
yeah,
I'm not very good at dancing, period. But I definitely have the gift of enjoying it and understanding it. And
right.
I do love tap. And I would assume that is such a fast pace. You
It's
really have to be in touch with your body.
You wreck your ankles. As you know, I've had my ankles can be very weak because I wrecked them. Between tap and point, my ankles got overstretched.
Well, I was
Uh,
going to say that because
no.
you'd think they would be
Mhm.
strong, but it's because they get overstretched from and
I,
like over
and
mobilized, is what you're
every
saying,
every person's body's different. My
right?
my ankles were naturally more flexible than most people's.
Uh
Um,
huh.
so my ankles, from what I was told by my dance instructors, my ankles were naturally weaker than other people's because of the hyperflexibility I had in my ankles. So point, it's beautiful, but
I know
it
it
wrecked my
is,
feet and my ankles, and that's why
and
I roll my ankles really easily. That's
interesting.
what, like when I was pregnant with Luke, I rolled my ankle and slid down the stairs.
Well,
So,
isn't do you feel that Pilates can help that? Or is
absolutely.
it something that just once those tendons, which is true, I know that from anatomy, once tendons are stretched, they're
But
stretched forever. They
with
don't go back.
Pilates, because the difference between dance and Pilates when it comes to ankles is that it's way more about proper alignment and control. And when
Meaning
we're on
Pilates is.
Pilates is where
Right.
the dancer wants the foot to be in that alignment where it's beautiful, but it's not necessarily always
Correct.
best for your ankle per se. Where
Got you.
Pilates, when you're laying on that reformer, as you know, proper foot placement is so important. And when we're doing our foot bar stuff, our feet exercises, as you remind me all the time, you get on me if I'm hyperextending. So the proper technique, the proper form
Right.
really does force.
And the
I,
foot placement, yeah. I mean, that's our job as the instructors is to make sure
yeah,
you guys and dancers are kind of easy. They're always going to try and turn out.
yeah.
They always are.
And
So you have to.
and that's part of my problem is with some of the things you don't want it turned out, and I know that's one of my weaknesses because it was ingrained in me from such a young age. Turn out, turn out, turn out, turn out, turn out. So when I have to do things parallel, I know that's like where I get lazy.
Well, it says here transitioning from dance to Pilates. What drew you in? I'm kind of going to answer that for you and kind of skip over it because it's kind of a no-brainer. Dancers tend to, maybe I take that back. Tell me why dancers love Pilates so much and they excel.
I think because they're perfectionists.
Okay.
Dancers are
interesting.
And Pilates like dance. It's all about proper placement. It's all about having the right technique. It's whole body movement. And I love it.
I know you do, and you're good at it, and dancers do tend to be good at it. Biggest lessons from your early fitness journey, are there any? Is there anything lessons you took away from dance early?
Oh, lessons from dance? Absolutely.
I know, I realized, I was like, oops, that could be a rabbit hole.
You're a dancer, you're forced onto stage in front of an audience.
Right.
So I was taught confidence. And to even forget what you're doing, just keep going. The audience isn't going to know if you know it or if you know what you're doing or not. Especially like for a solo, if you exude confidence and just keep going and you hold your head high, that's what matters. So
interesting. Yes.
How to push yourself, because dance is athletic.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
some of the best athletes ever.
Learning how to power through things with a smile, because you're not allowed to show the struggle when you're on stage,
Absolutely not. I'm allowed to grunt and moan in the gym. You guys aren't. You can't even show that it hurts.
My teacher would have been like, "Why are you, a monkey? Stop going ugh." Like, we're never allowed to do that. You had, even on the bar in class, you had to look perfect.
Wow.
and confident. And that's what, like, dance is about, confidence and grace. So
well, I appreciate that because it's not far different in athletics too. Not everybody's going to know you messed up, and maybe your teammates will if you're on a team or something like that, but the audience doesn't always. I mean, we all know they do too. Lots of booze and stuff like that happen. Yeah. But in dance, yeah, you're right. I mean, you can kind of gracefully smooth over it or make it obvious, and so they teach you to not make it obvious. What inspired you to, I'm kind of jumping ahead here all of a sudden because I'm getting into the pregnancies. You had 2 pregnancies during the time that we were training together. And what inspired you to keep up with Pilates during pregnancy?
Well, the first pregnancy was very different than the second one.
Interesting, because I'm getting ready to ask that. So please tell me that.
The first one was not as good. Because, as you know, I was still in Fairfax at that time. And, the whole situation, it wasn't a planned pregnancy, and it was very stressful. And I was so much more sick from the morning sickness. It was, as you know, it was horrible. So the motivation was not there for all those reasons. For all of those reasons. And it was just a very stressful time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I moved back down to Virginia Beach when Luke was 1 that we were able to reconnect in person again.
Right.
And that was a healing journey. Pilates was a really healing journey for me.
Right.
Right. Because that was like one of the lowest points that I've ever had in my life. So I wasn't working out like I should have been. I wasn't moving like I should have been. I was getting all in my head. And I know Satan was just attacking me horribly then. And so that was a moment where I can look and say my fitness journey was not good. And then after,
you're reminding me,
yeah. And then after born, I had the really bad postpartum depression,
Mm-hmm.
And if we're okay to talk about it, I got on birth control, and that completely just wrecked my body. It was
Mm-hmm.
horrifying. I didn't gain much weight from the pregnancy at all because I couldn't hold any food down. But the birth control made me gain like 50 pounds in 3 months, and it was horrifying. And
Hormones, I
it
guess.
was, yes, the hormonal birth control made me gain
Mm-hmm.
so quickly. And I don't know if you remember, I had to get it. I got the one in the arm, and my
Mm-hmm.
mom made me take it out because it was just making me so like it was making me not want
Mm-hmm.
to anymore,
We,
you know.
yeah,
And
that yeah.
once we finally moved back here and I was able to start working out with you again, it like brought me back to life slowly. So
How
fitness
movement
has
and fitness helped your postpartum recovery. Yes,
been
it
huge.
did, didn't it?
It was game changer. It was
Mm-hmm.
absolutely game changing. It made me it made me feel alive again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Those
definitely.
are very serious subjects. We could actually have
Yeah.
podcasts on those
Yeah.
subjects, and I
Yeah. I know
appreciate you
I was
being
trying not
so
to go
candid.
I was
Yes.
trying not to go too deep into it because I know we have the time, but
But
um
yes,
yeah.
we'll have to have you back so we can dive
Yeah.
into those subjects. Those are
Yeah.
interesting and those are important. And I
Right.
didn't mean to say interesting. They're interesting because they're so important
Right.
and
Right.
they're popular. Unfortunately,
Right.
it's happens to a lot of women, the
Right.
postpartum. Yes, I appreciate you bringing that up. I
Mhm.
really, really do. Did your faith play a role in your mindset and perseverance through that pregnancy?
Well, the first pregnancy, that was like my
Yes.
trial. That was my trial by fire.
That's why I
Um,
smile so much.
yeah,
Yes, of course.
yes, but it was through that trial that God was able to reach through my thick skull
Mm, mm,
and help me to realize that I can't keep doing because I was trying to do everything in my own strength.
right.
I was trying to do everything in my own time, and I was trying to fix what I had messed up.
And let's
What I
talk
felt
about how
like
young
I
you
could.
were. How
I
old
was
were you?
I was 20 years old and in
20
college
years old,
still.
people. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
young.
Yeah. So,
It's a lot. You're
um, and
you're a
I was
strong girl.
when like your parents don't even though I love my son, but that's not what my plan was, and that wasn't what my parents' plan was for me. So you
Right.
feel like you've let everyone down, and so I kept trying to like fix everything
Yes.
like on my own, and it God was like, haha.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
Been there. Yeah.
Looking
Oh gosh.
looking
Yeah.
now that I'm out of it, it was I can
Mhm.
because I'm not in the thick of it.
Right.
That was refinement by fire.
Yeah, and you're on probably how do I say this? You're grateful for growth, you
I am.
know?
Yes.
You're
Absolutely.
it's crazy to say, but you're
Yes.
grateful to you get to experience all that growth and what a
Yeah.
catalyst to help other women because
Yeah.
again, this is a subject that
Hmm.
happens for a lot of us.
Yes.
Um Motherhood, marriage and balance.
So we'll talk about that and then compare my second pregnancy to my first. Is that what you're wanting to do?
Yes, I
Yeah.
didn't mean to move ahead
No.
because I do want to obviously talk about
Yeah.
yes, I guess yes, you're right. So let's get into the second pregnancy before I go forward because I
Okay.
thought it was going into that, but I apologize. It's
No, I
not.
wasn't
So
sure what to do first, Karen. That's all.
go for it. Tell me how your second pregnancy, which we were together
We
for
were.
that,
We
and the
were.
reformer was on the scene.
Yeah.
And I even wrote a whole blog post on it on
Yeah.
my website because that was an interesting time. It was a learning experience
Yeah.
for both of us. And but tell me your version.
My first pregnancy compared to my second was like night and day.
Mm-hmm.
It was like night and day because your body changes so much in a pregnancy. So much happens in a pregnancy. Like as you get more and more pregnant, your back hurts, your ankles hurt, your feet hurt. But when you are able to get on that reformer and get your posture right,
Mm-hmm.
because posture is a big issue in pregnancy,
Mm-hmm.
and you're able to get your posture right, and you're able to flatten your back out correctly, and you're able to stretch those things out, it's like a relief.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think being able to get that opportunity twice a week where I get to check myself, like
Yeah.
how have I been doing throughout the week? have i
Right.
been have I been allowing myself to slouch forward? Have I
Right.
been allowing my head to go forward? Have I been bending down correctly to pick things up?
Mm-hmm.
Even when I'm not
With
pregnant, I try to check myself on that. But especially when you're growing another child, another human being, like those things really matter. And Pilates checks you on that every single time.
That's good.
And
That's great. I
my
appreciate that
my,
perspective.
my
Truly.
body felt so much better than when it felt when I was pregnant with Luke. And it's all about
Um,
it's about the mindset as well that you have, you know.
and not to jump off that, the
Yeah.
pregnancy part, we know that Pilates is, and I want to talk about the forward head, but then before I go there, I also want to remind everybody that Alexis and I were able to work on the reformer for the first 2 trimesters.
Mm-hmm.
On the third trimester, things start to get a little bit different in a woman's body, and it's best for her not to lay down on her back.
Mm-hmm.
And some can, and some, but for me, as their instructor and trainer and coach, I usually pull them off third trimester and we start doing different kind of exercises that still help with posture, still help
Mm-hmm.
with essential alignment and the fundamentals and all that good stuff, moving all their joints and everything. But I do need to mention that. But moving forward,
Yeah.
speaking of forward head,
Yes.
reminded, I forgot all
Yes.
about that because you
Yes.
don't have that anymore.
I
I
don't.
have a forward head. Alexis had a forward head, and I'd like to think that I don't have it anymore, but it's a very common postural alignment. Our ears are supposed to be over our shoulders,
Yes.
and a lot of us have a forwardness where you have to pull your face back. And Alexis, being the young woman that she was, we were able to fix it
We were
with the
from
Pilates reformer, weren't we?
Yes, it was because I sat in that office job for like a year.
Yep.
Yep.
And you were, yeah, and you were pregnant with Colette then, weren't you? Or no?
That was before Colette.
Okay. It was in the between
It was
stage, but still sitting at the desk every day.
yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. From sitting in front of a computer all day.
And I think your
Yeah.
schooling, education, and you're young enough that the cell
Mm-hmm.
phones were out.
Right.
So,
Oh,
forward head syndrome was something that older adults had
yeah.
to deal with. And now it's gotten into our younger people
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because I remember
So
the iPad, or the what's it called? The Not the iPad. Yeah, the iPads and stuff, and like the Apple Touch. You remember those? Like the iPod Touches.
mhm.
Those,
Oh yeah, yes, yes.
yeah, those came out when I was in middle school.
Yeah, so you think about, you guys were, and you're a studious student. So let's face
Yeah,
it. I mean, you were in front of computers, you're in front of books.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's just par for the course. You were sitting at a desk a
yeah,
lot, even
yeah,
whether you're a child or an adult. It's
yeah,
hard. But we were able to fix it because you were
right,
so young.
yeah,
And I don't think that I'm not so young, and I was able to fix mine too. I have no more
yeah,
neck pain because of it. It is often a postural issue. It's not
yeah,
always, but it's often fixable. It's soft tissue, and you bring the skeleton back in alignment, and voila, the pain goes away.
yeah,
Um, I am going to move on to motherhood, marriage, and balance.
yeah, yeah.
How fitness helps you manage the demands of motherhood. And there are a lot. She's got 2
Yeah,
little ones.
I do. Well, I mean, just think about it. When you're a mom, you have so much junk you have to carry.
Yeah.
And we talk about this all the time. We have diaper bags and literal
Mhm.
children climbing on
Mhm.
you. And the way that you bend down to pick up your things, to pick up your children, can
Mhm.
really hurt you if you're not if you're not doing it the right way.
Yeah.
And I laugh because it's so true.
It is so true. I saw a meme. I laughed because I saw this meme online the other day and it was a shark screaming out of the water because somebody said, "Look, it's a shark stepping on a Lego." And he was like Jaws, with his mouth
Yeah,
open. It was just really funny
that's
because I thought of that. Like even that, like you fall down more because you trip over things. And it's
right.
just, the whole mishmash of having children. There's so much to it that you
Bend
almost have to be
down,
in good shape to
pick
have them.
toys, or not literally not trying to step on their Legos that flew everywhere on the floor. And
Right, right. So
yeah,
then you're like doing like an obstacle course too. You learn that sort of stuff and
yeah.
balance and all kinds of good things.
Or like
Um,
my daughter's 3, so when we go to the park, she wants me to go up into the playset with her, which
yeah.
was always fun. So just literally just even being able to, keep up. Kids are
And you
exhausting.
want to, yes.
Kids are a lot of fun, but they're a lot.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And even like the fun things, like even though that like thank God that you can go up in the play set with her.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's an experience that's
Yeah.
fun. Like that was the thing with me is I really wanted to stay in good shape. So cuz I
Yeah.
had Ian older. So I really wanted to be able to keep up literally with my young
Yeah.
son. So yeah, you almost have to work out to be a parent. There's parents that'll vouch for us all over.
Yeah.
Finding
Yeah.
time. How do you find time with the kids? Do
Well,
you find that you have to make an appointment? Are you there?
Oh, she dropped off. She dropped off. Hold on.
She dropped off.
So this is what you call ad libbing. You just talk to me now.
I will talk to you. Finding the time. Finding the time with your husband and your children. Both you guys,
There
me,
she is. She's back
me and
on.
you both don't know anything about that.
sorry, I don't know what
There we
happened.
go.
I
That's
don't know
so
what I
funny
did.
because
It's called technology.
well, yeah, it's no big deal too. Because Steve goes, "Well, this is where we ad lib," and then I go, "Finding time with your husband and children. This is something you and I know nothing about."
I'm sorry, Karen. I don't know.
No worries. Oh my
Okay.
goodness, it's no worries. Um, ha- moving on. How does your husband support your fitness journey?
My husband. Well, so how does he support it?
Well, I mean,
Or
the first question, and we did drop off, so you could probably go back to that if you wanted to.
okay.
Finding time, how do you find time with raising young kids, and how supportive Mac really is,
Yeah.
very supportive of
Yeah.
your fitness
He
journey, and
is.
I'm grateful for
So
that.
I'm really grateful that I have my family close by. So
Yeah.
at this stage in my life, I'm a stay-at-home mom, and that
Hmm.
does make it a lot easier to have the flexibility in my schedule. So at this stage in my life, and my parents live down the street from you, which is really
It is
great, and my
nice.
mom works from home on her. So my mom is able to watch Colette. So my son's in school. So since my son is in school, that makes it easier. So it's just my daughter
Hmm.
who I have to worry about.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
I drop my son off at school, and then I drive to my mom's house and I drop her off so she gets to play with her nanny for an hour
Right.
while I get to work out with Karen.
And
So
it does turn out to be such a good thing for
yeah,
everyone, for
yeah, it,
everyone.
it's so much fun.
I really do try to, in my business, reach
Hmm.
out to families, like work. I've worked for many, many families, like
Yeah,
not just the maybe one sibling, two siblings, maybe a mother. I
Right.
like when family members work out together.
Right.
It's important because the kids are watching. I like it when the kids come to our sessions. There's
Oh,
videos of
Colette
that.
loves
People
it.
have seen it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the children to see us doing positive things. It's just,
Absolutely.
I really have always condoned that. Like people are like, "Oh, I don't have a sitter. Can I bring the
Yeah.
kid?" Absolutely. Absolutely. It
But
is
then,
nice that you get a
yeah,
break,
it
because
is.
remember Luke used to come.
I know, and he likes to use the TRX like a Tarzan.
He was so fun though. Like remember
Yeah.
he was so cute. He would just
I
sit there
know.
and and Colette's so good too. But
It,
it's nice that you get a break from,
it is.
during your
It's
session. It is
because
nice like to have
I'm,
childcare at the YMCA.
yeah,
Don't you utilize
I,
that
I do.
too?
And I think a lot of moms forget that they're more than just a mom. They're a person too. And
Mhm.
having that time for yourself is so important to fill your own cup up.
Mhm.
That way you can be more
Absolutely.
present for your kids. And it's so easier
Absolutely.
said than done for a lot of women.
Mhm.
But it's
Yes,
really, really important.
I agree.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously the mental and emotional benefits of staying active. Do you
Hmm.
have anything you want to add on to that?
Well, I think it really it just helps with your whole mental mindset. It makes I like even when I'm not feeling good or I'm like, oh,
Right.
I don't want to go today. The second I get to your house and I walk into the gym, I'm like, I need it to be here. And
Right.
like by the time we're finished, I'm like, wait a minute, our hour's already up. I'm not ready to be done yet.
Right.
You know?
And you usually feel better. And if you don't, you
Yeah.
don't. But I mean,
Yeah.
most of the
That's
Yeah.
time.
exact. That I do.
Yeah.
It's the same exact thing with me. That's the
Yes.
same exact mindset I
Yes.
usually
Mhm.
have.
And then the rest of my day, I feel so much more productive
Mhm.
and I get more stuff done around the house, which you and I both hate cleaning. But
Oh.
I know. But I feel more motivated after working out to go clean my
Mhm.
house.
Yeah, that's how mine
Yeah.
gets cleaned too. I know.
Yeah.
Like I have to
Yeah.
mentally yeah, that's not my favorite chore either. And yeah, so you almost have to work out to get the endorphins to get
Yes.
that done, right?
Yeah.
Something that you
Yeah.
don't want to do. Um
Absolutely.
I want to go even further. Let's
Okay.
talk about your book and your podcast
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
all that, how that comes together with your
Yeah.
faith. And like I said, it's such a joyful, I'm so glad that you're on this week too, because
Yeah.
I had a really, really great Easter, and Easter is like one of my favorite holidays. And
It's
it
the
was
best.
beautiful here in Virginia Beach, and
Yeah.
it meant so much for us that
Mhm.
believe in that way of life. And it's
Yeah.
just so nice. And I know that you have a very, very strong faith in God. I respect it so much.
Yeah.
And I learn a lot from you, Alexis. You have a lot of
Oh,
knowledge for a young woman. It's
oh,
a
thank you.
blessing. Blessing, blessing, blessing. And it's a gift. I'm sure you're well aware of that. So much of a gift that at the young age of, I would say you wrote the book at 25, 26.
I started it. It took me 3.5 years because
Okay.
I'm a perfectionist, and I had a 1 year old.
Fair
So
enough.
I wrote it when I could. I'm a nerd. I have the problem of deep diving and going down rabbit holes, especially when reading my Bible. Like I'll read like a passage and I'm like, oh, that connects to this. And then I'll go and read it and I'm like, wait a minute, that connects to this. And it's like ping, my brain's like ping, 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 ping. And so I was reading Isaiah 53, which is a messianic prophecy um about Jesus. But it was written like hundreds of years before Jesus was even born, and it's about the suffering servant who will be pierced and who will die and who will be mourned. So I was inspired to write a 6 week study on Isaiah 53 that I feel like is a really cool opportunity to use, especially like leading up to Easter, to remember all that to remember like the weight that Jesus took on the cross.
Wow.
And like I really like I deep dove. And so yeah.
So that's what inspired you, because you thought, wow, this could be pieced together, because you said it's like a 6-week study, didn't you? That it's
it is. So
cool.
Technology. Okay. What I did was each week there is a video that I made. That's because it can be done either individually or even as a small group.
Right. So it's good for like a Bible study.
It is.
Good.
And so there's videos that are free on YouTube each week that gives like an overview of what you're going to be learning in your homework time throughout the week. And there's 5 days of homework. So I make you go on a treasure hunt through the Bible and you're going through verse by verse. So each week
it sounds so interesting for someone like me that struggles with, because we laugh about this kind of stuff, because yes, you are the girl that goes into the Bible and digs deep, and I'm the girl that's like, oh my God, it like hurts my head to even think about it. Like, so I'm lucky to have friends like yourself that I can go to, and then through study, and that's how I get my education. I can't read it like you can. So it sounds like this is a kind of helping hand for someone like me that needs to have kind of like a guide to get you through this. Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's needed for girls like me.
Yeah, and that's what really started was my book, and then I started my Instagram page. I really like to. I feel like I really like to write.
Okay.
And so that's I on my Instagram page, I started with like little verse of the day posts where I would get the verse of the day from the Bible app and then give my thoughts on the verse. So I post those a lot. I also then I got I got down the Christian Instagram rabbit hole and like answer questions on like, what does it mean to be a mom and be a believer? Like what does it mean to like disciple your kids to Christ? Post that. So I'll make reels about that. I'll make posts about that. And then I get
What is the name of your Instagram page?
Proverbs 31 wannabe. And the reason why I chose that name is because Proverbs 31 talks about what it means to be a woman of virtue, what it means to be a woman of faith. And I fail at it all the time. So I strive to be a Proverbs 31, but I'm like a Proverbs 31 wannabe because I fail epically every single day.
And that name is really, it's telltale. It's good. It's a good name. It gets the point across.
Yeah.
Let me go back to my little notes because I want to talk more about this.
Yeah.
Tell us about your podcast. This is now, wait. I'm getting ahead of myself. Now, this book can be purchased on Amazon too. It's a book and a workbook, right?
So it's just a book, one book, but it's like a study. It's basically like a big study guide.
Gotcha. And it's available on Amazon. And you also have a podcast of your own.
I do, which is
Please
also
tell me about that.
So
and what inspired it and its mission.
Yeah. So it's also called Proverbs 31 wannabe, just to keep the name consistent.
Right.
And what started it was, people would like put in my Instagram, like they wanted to learn more than just a little snippet from an Instagram post. They would have questions like, oh, I posted about women in the Bible. So one of my earlier series that I made on my podcast was I did a deep dive series on women in the Bible, and we explored each woman in the Bible, and so that way it could be a longer form content,
right,
to go along with things that I would post in short form content on my Instagram.
Smart.
And then another series that I did it's called Connecting the Dots, Messianic Prophecy. So it's like connecting the dots from Old Testament to New Testament.
What
because
is messianic? What does that mean?
so there's in the Old Testament, there's the prophets,
Mm-hmm.
and there's all of these signs in the Old Testament that point to Christ as our Messiah. And there's all
Oh,
these prophecies.
but
And
he's not here yet.
before Jesus came in his physical body,
Gotcha.
there are
Got
all
it.
different prophecies that God gave to us. Like in Zechariah, it says he's going to come riding into Jerusalem on a donkey. It literally says that. So there's all of these amazing prophecies. And as a believer in Christ, I think it's undeniable. So
Cool.
it was a 16-part series I did where
She
and I could
dives deep dive, she said.
I did. So I could have kept going, honestly, because there's over 3,000 Old Testament prophecies that point to Jesus. And so what I did was I went through them and I talked about, and I literally went through as
Well,
many
it
as
sounds
I
like
could.
it's a little bit of a history lesson too,
It
because if you think
is.
about
It
all
is.
this stuff is really a historical story.
Yeah.
And
So yes.
Alexis
Yeah.
has a lot of knowledge of this particular story,
Mhm.
however anybody wants to look at it. And when I say
Yeah.
story, I'm not saying that I don't believe in it.
Yeah.
It's just
It's like the
a
best true
historical.
story. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
So
Action packed.
I would take one of the prophecies and then show how Jesus has fulfilled it or will fulfill it when he comes again. So that was the whole
And a
premise of that.
prophecy, let's be clear, what is a prophecy?
A
Where's
prophecy is like when God would speak through one of the people like Isaiah or Jeremiah, and God is using this person to speak to the people to say this is what will happen.
got it. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then rather than a formal theological discussion, we'll share how your devotion keeps you motivated in wellness.
Oh yeah. Well, the Paul writes in the New Testament that our body is a temple to the Lord.
Right. I knew you were going to say that. I didn't know
Yeah.
it was Paul though.
Yes. Our body is a temple to the Lord, and when you look, I'm gonna try not to go down too far of a rabbit hole, but when you look back in the Old Testament, what is the temple? The temple is the holy dwelling place of God, right? And we, as believers in Jesus, have the Holy Spirit indwelling in us.
Mm-hmm.
And the temple was a place of honor. It was a place of prestige. It was a holy place of worship.
Right.
And it should be treated like a palace, right? So since we have the Holy Spirit indwelling in us, we should be treating our bodies that is created by God with love and respect, and we should be treating it like a gift.
God, you're checking me hard right
Yeah.
now. I'm like, oh my
I know.
God, I did slip and have an energy drink today.
And it's easier said than done.
Oh, I know. But it does make you think, because it is truth, and I appreciate you bringing that. I mean, that is written, it is written.
And also, God in the Old Testament gave dietary laws for a reason.
True.
Because he was like the things that he told the Israelites not to eat, they're pretty gross and unhealthy anyway. Like I like scallops, but and shrimp and lobster, but at the end of the day, they're bottom feeders.
Right.
They eat the yuck of the ocean. Pigs are kind of, when you start to read into it, pigs are kind of disgusting. Like how their digestive system works and stuff.
Yeah, they really are.
So God gave the people of Israel, even though they didn't understand necessarily why, he gave the people instructions for what's clean and unclean for a reason. Right. And so in my house, in my family, and we've talked about this too, what I try to do is just shop the outside aisles of the grocery store.
Right.
And it's so much easier said than done, especially because we're on a one-person income.
Right.
And so struggle can be real.
Right. Especially now, the grocery store, it's hard to go Yeah, it's hard to go
Oh,
inside the door.
I understand that myself.
Yeah.
I'm cooking for 4.
Right.
I'm cooking
Right.
for 4 people. So
Right.
so, it shouldn't be that way where the vegetables are more expensive than a box of cereal.
But it
But
is true. But it is, yeah.
I try to make a point of using the food apps, using the coupons, and shopping what's
Hmm.
in season, because God gave
Hmm.
us seasons.
Right. That's true.
God
And
gave
shopping
us
and then it's
crop seasons,
priced better, it's more
and
on point.
I try not to look too hard into the meat industry
Yeah.
because I've gone down that rabbit hole from listening to other women podcasters, but we can't afford the all
I
organic
know.
time. So it's like I'm doing the best. We just do the best with your budget. Do the best with
Right.
what you have. And
Absolutely.
you can
Well,
change
tell me
small.
this. Do you have any upcoming projects, or how can our listeners follow you,
Yeah.
Alexis?
Find me on Instagram and Facebook. And
Hmm.
I am wanting to relaunch my podcast because when you're a parent, life happens.
Right.
I've had to prioritize my kids and not my
Well,
podcast for the past year.
Of course, of
Yeah.
course. And it sounds like you
Yeah.
you had a lot of
I
episodes under
do.
your belt, so they can
I
always catch
I
up.
do. And I have a lot of ideas that I'm wanting. I have a whole series in my head of what I want to do.
Do you
Um,
have
so I want to relaunch it soon.
well, good. Well,
There's like biblical themes. Like there's the whole theme of light versus darkness in the Bible that I really feel, especially in the times that we are living in, that I feel like is so critical to dive into at this point. So
yeah.
when I have the guts to relaunch my podcast, I've already like dug into so many verses on it, so I'm prepared
Well,
for when I
that'll
do.
be something that we'll be able to look forward to in the future.
Yeah.
And I would love to have you on again, because we had so many subjects that
Yeah.
we were only able to glaze over today. Deep subjects and very good, good. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
how do I close this out with an opening? I would like to hopefully invite you again in the future so we could talk about more of those things that we talked about with the
I would love
pregnancy and stuff like that.
absolutely.
And I really enjoyed having you on tonight and appreciate you so much coming and taking your time out and spending time here on the
So much fun.
Sizzling Show.